Welcome to another episode of Office Hours, the recap, where we go a little deeper into the discussion that we had in our Discord room over on ChatbotBuilder.ai. Let's get started.
Okay, so imagine you're chatting with an AI, asking it to do something pretty straightforward, and then, well, it just keeps doing it over and over again, duplicating data. What seems like just a frustrating glitch, maybe a minor annoyance, can actually unearth this fascinating world of hidden technical challenges inside AI.
It's true. And today we're taking a deep dive into a very specific, but I think incredibly illustrative technical issue. This persistent Google Sheet data repetition you sometimes get when you're building applications with AI. It's a common stumbling block, honestly, for quite a few people, but the reasons behind it are what I find really intriguing.
Yeah, so today we're aiming to cut through the noise. We've pulled together a stack of sources, everything from really detailed technical breakdowns of symptoms, causes, solutions, to a broader look at the philosophy shaping AI development right now. Our mission, really, is to uncover the root causes of these kinds of AI headaches and explore what these very practical problems reveal about the future of how we'll all be building with AI. It's about giving you that shortcut to being truly well-informed about the guts of AI, not just, its shiny surface. All right, let's start with the immediate problem, the headache. A Google Sheet that's populating the same exact data multiple times in different rows, all from a single user interaction. And we're not talking just 2 or 3 duplicates here. Our sources describe instances of 15 or more duplicate rows. Imagine that. It can quickly turn your data into just a chaotic mess.
And that's what makes it so tricky to diagnose, right? The first line of data is almost always correct, spot on, but then the repetitions kick in. What's truly perplexing and honestly frustrating if you're dealing with it is that this isn't consistent. It occurs only in some instances, not all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes the sheet works perfectly, fills out just one row, leaves you wondering why it acts up other times.
Ugh, that inconsistency sounds like a complete nightmare for anyone trying to troubleshoot. I saw one extreme case mentioned in the sources, where an inbox showed executed actions and custom field changes for a single user stretching from February all the way to June. The description was that it looked like a virus or something. That's a pretty strong way to put it. Suggests something fundamentally corrupted, maybe, or deeply misaligned.
A virus? Yeah, that's a powerful analogy. It speaks to that feeling of an uncontrollable cascade, doesn't it? And when we dig deeper, we see this problem isn't just some random bug. It points to several potential causes, often inherent in AI development itself. A key suspect is often the AI's own autonomy to determine intent. If your instructions are ambiguous, the AI can become confused.
How so? Like, what's an example?
Well, think about a prompt telling the AI to continue the conversation by picking up where you left off that could easily be interpreted by some models as a command to repeat. Giving the AI more room to think, as one source put it, can often lead to unpredictable behavior where it just starts filling in the gaps in ways you really didn't expect.
Okay, so digging into the core mechanics. A critical discovery in our sources was that this collect user data function, it was being triggered twice within the AI's flow, once in the sort of default reply setting, and then again in what's called an open AI node, which is basically a specific integration point where the AI model does its processing. This double trigger was identified as a core reason for the data duplication, essentially telling the bot, collect the data, send it. Oh, I can collect the data, send it again.
Exactly. And it's fascinating how timing factors into this too. Many AI platforms are event-based, right? Meaning they react to specific actions or triggers. So if that OpenAI node retriggers within milliseconds because it thinks a response was incomplete, maybe the user paused, or maybe the user just types again quickly. Boom, repetition. Or another angle, if the system doesn't have enough time to populate everything into all the custom fields before it tries the next action, it might just restart thinking it didn't do it the first time. It's almost like it's rushing and thinks it needs to start over because it didn't quite register completion.
That brings up a really critical point. How we phrase our questions to the AI matters immensely. Open-ended questions like, what is your biggest challenge, can easily confuse the AI. It's trying to do multiple things at once, like save specific answers to custom fields while interpreting this broad, open statement. It makes the whole process far less predictable compared to simple single-answer questions. It's almost like giving it too much freedom without enough guardrails sometimes.
Absolutely. And the environment, where you're actually testing your AI solutions, that plays a surprisingly large role. Things like running multiple tests from the same IP address, using preview links instead of the actual published links, or even just having a cluttered inbox filled with old test conversations. All of that can bog down the testing process and sometimes even cause weird hallucinations in the AI's behavior.
Hallucinations even in the testing phase, wow.
Yeah, it's like the system gets confused by its own history. We saw that a simple fix, like logging out and logging back into your CBB account, which is a popular platform for building these bots, was shown to resolve immediate data capture issues during testing. It just highlights how complex these seemingly minor environmental details can actually be.
And finally, there was this less obvious but equally frustrating culprit, corrupted column formatting, right there in the Google Sheet itself. One issue they observed was with a phone number column. It just couldn't clear existing formatting, leading to incorrect displays like adding this persistent leading This hinted at a corrupted column that needed to be basically deleted and completely recreated. It's a kind of subtle bug that can drive you absolutely mad trying to find it. Okay, so let's pivot to the solutions, the fixes. The most direct fix for that data repetition, as you might guess, was identifying and simply removing the duplicate collect user data function from that OpenAI node. Since it was already happening in the default reply, that second one was just causing the loop. Simple, maybe, but absolutely critical.
Yeah, simple but effective. And to address the AI's confusion with those broader, open-ended questions, the suggestion was pretty straightforward. Ask them in a separate instruction block or a distinct task. Give the AI a clearer single directive at that point. And for the timing issues, implementing a wait block or timer typically just 3 to 5 seconds right after the Google Sheet action was proposed. This gives the system just enough breathing room to fully process and populate all custom fields correctly, preventing those unnecessary retriggers. Initial tests suggested this approach was actually remarkably helpful.
A wait block. It sounds almost deceptively simple for something that caused so much headache. Does that kind of fix really hold up reliably across the board, do you think?
Well, it might seem simple, but, in these event-based systems, explicitly telling the system, hang on, pause, make sure this is done, is often the missing piece. While maybe it's not a universal silver bullet for every single timing issue out there, the sources definitely indicate it's remarkably effective for many common timing-related problems. It's a great first step. Another really smart strategy discussed was using conditions and tags, like setting up a submission complete flag. This could be a simple true-false check, or maybe a tag just to indicate when the data collection for that user is finished, stopping any further attempts. It effectively prevents creating new rows for the same contact if, say, a customer record already exists. Smart stuff.
And here's an intriguing angle I saw. Actually leveraging AI for its own troubleshooting. The owner was advised to feed their entire knowledge-based prompt, the whole set of instructions, into something like ChatGPT or Gemini and ask the AI to analyze that, specifically looking for repetitive inconsistency and confusion.
Yeah.
It's like using AI as a meta tool, right? Debugging itself from the inside out.
That's the beauty of it, making the tool debug the tool. And for you, the listener, if you're building or testing AI, optimizing your testing practices is just crucial. Regularly clearing out old test conversations from your inbox really helps prevent those hallucinations and ensures you're getting a true test each time. A full account restart on the platform, like CBB, by logging out and logging back in, was also found to resolve those weird issues where custom fields weren't populating correctly during tests. And critically, always use the actual published link for your real testing, not those sometimes unstable preview links.
Right. And shifting back to the Google Sheet itself for a second for that persistent phone number formatting issue. The recommended solutions included creating a totally new uncorrupted column, then formatting it carefully as plain text or maybe a specific custom number format to get rid of unwanted leading digits like that annoying 1. There's also the option, maybe less common, of contacting the platform support, like CBB, about international phone formatting defaults. And sometimes those settings are embedded deep at the account level. It's often those small, fiddly formatting bugs that are the most frustrating to nail down. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. These seemingly small technical glitches, like data repetition in a Google Sheet, they actually open up this much larger philosophical debate that's really at the heart of AI development today. Vibe coding versus foundations.
Yeah, vibe coding.
Yeah.
It represents this very intuitive, outcome-focused approach, right? It's about achieving the result you want with minimal technical deep diving, often just by asking for what you want in plain, natural language. The big promise is that AI automates all the messy stuff behind the scenes, so you theoretically don't have to understand all this stuff. The emphasis shifts completely from the intricate process to the desired outcome. You ask for a beautiful cat in a sketch, and poof, it's done. This perspective even goes so far as to suggest that traditional technical skills might become, well, useless as AI gets more advanced. You just need to know what to ask.
But And this is where it gets really interesting. The Foundation's philosophy pushes back hard. It argues for the continued absolute necessity of fundamental knowledge. It argues that this knowledge is indispensable when these automated systems inevitably break, or they produce unexpected results, just like our Google Sheet example clearly showed. Without that foundational understanding, users can find themselves completely stranded, totally dependent on others for fixes. It's not enough to just ask for the cat sketch if the drawing program itself keeps crashing. Right.
Precisely. And the core insight here, I think, is that really grasping the underlying concepts allows you to understand how systems function, even if the specific tools or terminology change over time. That process of diagnosing and fixing issues, even though it's frustrating, really frustrating sometimes, is actually seen as an incredibly valuable learning experience. As one source we looked at put it pretty bluntly, all of that shit that you go through, that's the stuff you were supposed to be doing. Fixing even simple things like figuring out why a refresh is needed builds knowledge that just accelerates your future problem solving. It's like building technical muscle memory.
So what does this all mean for what you should focus on? Where should you put your energy? There's this key distinction being drawn between merely creating content with AI and actually building a functional solution. Building implies logically fitting different components together in a useful, productive manner. The hammer analogy used in the source material makes it clear. Possessing a hammer is one thing. Knowing how to use it effectively to build a house, or even just a solid table, is another entirely. True building skills are absolutely required to diagnose and fix complex problems like that Google Sheet repetition. Simply knowing what to ask, the AI just isn't sufficient when things go wrong.
And this leads us back to a crucial point we touched on earlier. Even with AI, the way questions are posed matters immensely. Subtle differences in phraseology, a little different language, even the skill levels of prompting can lead to vastly different AI responses. It really shows the sometimes unpredictable logic, if you can call it that, of AI. The frustrating inconsistency of our data repetition problem perfectly illustrates this. A tiny change in the prompt, maybe, and the bot might behave completely differently next time.
Right. And when AI promises to automate tasks behind the scenes, and those hidden processes then malfunction like that embedded one in the phone numbers or some back-end loop causing repetition, the lack of transparency makes troubleshooting incredibly difficult without that deep technical understanding. This is where the Foundation's argument really pushes back against any perceived devaluation of expertise. You can feel the frustration in some of the source material from experienced developers who spent years to learn something, only to see AI let, and this is their term, total morons get shit done. But the counter-argument is just as clear. Those total morons would be completely helpless when faced with these deeper hidden issues. Much like someone who can operate, say, heavy machinery, but hasn't got a clue how to fix its hydraulics when it breaks down miles from anywhere.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And looking at the bigger picture, we're seeing protocols emerge like MCP. This really exemplifies this whole dynamic. MCP is designed to make it very simple in normal language to just ask for what you want and have different programs connect and work together autonomously. Kind of like how HTTP simplified web communication. It aligns perfectly with that vibe coding ethos, promising you won't have to integrate anything manually anymore. However, even the sources promoting MCP acknowledge that while it simplifies the surface, complexities still exist behind the scenes. And when those hidden processes inevitably malfunction, well, the lack of transparency makes troubleshooting incredibly difficult without that deep technical understanding.
So it's not a magic wand then?
Not entirely. MCP is projected to cover maybe 80% or 85% of stuff, meaning specialized foundational knowledge will still be needed for that crucial remaining 15-20% that goes wrong or requires custom solutions. We're seeing platforms like Claude and Shopify integrate MCP, making certain integrations super easy now, which is great. But that foundational understanding remains absolutely critical for true problem solving and building robust systems.
Okay, let's try and bring this all together. So what's the practical upshot for you listening? Our deep dive into Google Sheet data repetition started as a very practical troubleshooting session, didn't it? But it quickly exposed this much larger philosophical debate raging in AI development. On one side, you've got the promise of vibe coding, intuitive, low-effort creation, just ask for what you want. On the other side, the Foundation's argument underscores the enduring, frankly indispensable need for deep technical understanding, especially when things inevitably break.
And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is that the real value in this evolving landscape often lies not just in knowing what to ask an AI to create, but in comprehending the underlying mechanisms well enough to effectively build reliable, functional, and scalable solutions that truly add value in the real world. And that often requires patience, a willingness to tackle those frustrating problems head on, and learning through failure.
Absolutely. And here's a final thought to maybe chew on until at our next deep dive. If AI continues to abstract away more and more complexity, making it easier and easier for almost anyone to create without deep understanding, what happens to the innovative edge? The edge held by those who still understand how to actually build. And maybe more importantly, what happens when everything gets turned off or systems start behaving in ways no one predicted, forcing a return to those very foundations. Something to mull over.
That wraps up another discussion on the office hours recap. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And as always, come on over and join us in the Discord room every week live at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. See you next week.